People who have had an "I'm going to marry this person" instinct. What happened? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. The first time I saw my wife some 20+ years ago in high school, I said I'm going to marry that girl. I did. We have been married for 20 years. Together 24, 3 kids, mortgage, etc. No deal-breaking complaints. It does take effort, communication, and compromise. The first thing I said to her was, "Good morning, beautiful," as I held the door for her at school. To which she rebutted, "F you arsehole." That really sealed the deal for me. I had to make her my wife. Story 2. My dad went to a basketball game in 1963. He saw one of the cheerleaders that he thought was cute, turned to his buddy and said, "I'm going to marry that girl." This March will be their 54th anniversary. I love this story. And also, I just realized how different dating must have been in 1963, and what the modern dating experience would be like in equivalent. I feel like this is less common now. Story 3. We dated for 2 years, decided we were too young to marry, dated for another 8 years, got married, and 20 years later he got arrested for CP, and we're in the process of getting a divorce. Obviously, I would not have married him if I knew he was into kids. I look extremely young for my age, and now I'll always have to wonder if he actually loved me, or if he was just with me for money. And because I guess moral of the story is to wear sunscreen every day so you too can attract and marry a pedo. Story 4. She was a friend of a friend coming to my apartment housewarming. I knew the very first moment when I opened the door and saw her that I was going to marry her. We had never met prior. We dated 6 years and married. We divorced after about 15 years of marriage. Story 5. I experienced love at first sight once. That was decades ago now, but I still think about her frequently. I've never met another woman I connect with as naturally as we did. I feel like we missed the mark, should have ended up together, but life just got in the way and we ended up drifting apart. I hope she's super happy. Story 6. I saw my husband at a concert. I laughed at a joke he made. He mad-dogged me, and we both walked away. Later, I went to see a Battle of the Bands thing, and he was a lead vocalist. I still got that connection from him, but never saw him again. Then a few weeks later, my friends woke me up to ask if I wanted to hang out with a friend who coincidentally lived like a block away from me. And guess who that was? Haha. We have been married for almost 8 years now. Couldn't have asked for a... Story 7. She broke up with me right when I was going to start saving for a ring. Had the perfect idea for the ring and proposal. We were going to be moving in together this spring. It's now been 3.5 months. I can't get over her. Can't see myself with anyone else. Just living in hope life brings us together again. I still play golf with her dad. He said to me after the breakup, as much as I think it's a stupid decision, as her dad I have to offer support and be there for her. He's such a phenomenal man. Story 8. After coming back from our first date, a friend asked me how it went. I was playing it cool with my responses. He could tell I was smitten and was having none of it, and I began to say, "I don't even think she's that cool." A little voice in the back of my head said, "Careful, you are going to marry her someday." Anyway, it turns out she is still very much cooler than me 18 years later. Story 9. I had an immediate reaction to meeting him. Like a light shining down and angels singing. He doesn't even remember us getting introduced, LOL. It was his first day at work, so he was pretty overwhelmed. But I'm still a little salty. I didn't stand out at all. But we still consider that day as our first day together, even though we didn't start dating until a month later. We've now been together 21 years and married for 18. It was a lot of work for the first 10 years. We both had a lot of growing up and maturing to do. Now, I don't want to jinx it, but it's pretty freaking blissful. Story 10. He was in the same Japanese class as me. I saw him walk in the very first day and a little voice inside me said, "Holy shit, that's my husband." Funny thing is, he wasn't really my type. I was going through a dirty guitar playing hippie phase, and he was very clean cut with buzzed hair and a polo shirt. But there was this little mischievous glimmer in his eyes, and I just immediately had a crush. We were dating by the end of the week, after he followed me out of class to strike up a conversation as we walked to the bus stop. That was in 2007. and we've been together ever since. Story 11. When I met him 15 years ago, he immediately made me feel like I needed to simultaneously be my selfiest of selves, yet become a way better person, just to make sense of it all. An intense aura of too good to be true, but with a healthy level of, but it's real now, so don't F it up. And we still happy. Story 12. I was in grad school living independently for the first time, and I had to get my wisdom teeth out. Because I was going to be under general anesthetic, I needed someone to wait during my procedure and take me home. My boyfriend at the time waited, but instead of taking me to my apartment, he set me up in his. While I was sleeping off the last of the anesthetic, he filled my prescriptions and bought me a ton of ice cream. We just celebrated our 26th anniversary. Story 13. Met at 8 years old. Hated each other. Later became great friends. Dated other people throughout teenage years, never once considering each other. When I turned 19, after a bad relationship, I took notice of all my friend was. Smart, kind, hot, and amazing. I knew I wanted to marry him. A few years later, we did. Been married 30 years this past October. He is still the love of my life, my partner, and my rock. Story 14. Although it would be a cool story if I knew the second I saw him, it actually took a few months of being friends before dating to realize I felt a comfortability and acceptance around him that I had never felt with any other partner, and that's when I knew. I have anxious attachment style, so to feel at peace with someone was my ultimate sign. Dated 3 years, currently engaged. Me too. The first time I met mine, he was so quiet. He's always been shy, so he hardly said a word to me. His roommate actually tried to make a connection with me first, and we talked for a few months until I figured out it wasn't going anywhere. Looking back though, after hanging out with my now boyfriend and his roommate, who was the one I was supposed to be trying to date, all I could talk about to my friends was how effortlessly funny my boyfriend was on the rare occasions he opened his mouth. Once he and I got closer and started a friendship separate from his roommate, I got that same feeling you're describing of comfort and openness. I'm very anxious as well, have BPD, so issues with attachment and safety. So like you said, feeling so close and safe to someone, especially a man, was such a green flag. We've been together 3 years so far, no ring yet. But to be fair, he warned me from the get-go that he wanted to wait at least 5 years before getting engaged. So we could both be sure we knew who we were dating, and so we could get our careers started and our finances stable. We were about halfway through college when we met. Story 15. I moved in with her 6 weeks later and married her 9 months after that. We just celebrated our 14th anniversary, and I can honestly say my life has been better every single day since meeting her, and I expect that will be the case for the rest of my day. I can only hope I'm able to continue be deserving of this ridiculous fairy tale. She gets annoyed by how sappy I can be sometimes. So having opportunities to say something like this in a forum that won't annoy her too badly is fun. Story 16. We worked at the same middle school. She was the nurse, and I was a teacher. She had never dated a woman before. I was openly out, so she knew I was a lesbian and had just ended a long relationship. I knew I shouldn't have pursued her, but I just knew she had feelings for me too. There was just something inside me that knew we were going to be together. Almost 5 years together. We got married in late 2022. We're in the early stages of trying to have a baby. She changed my whole life. I am very lucky. Story 17. She walked into a club meeting at university that I was setting up for. I was facing the other way when she came in and asked if she was in the right place. I remember turning to see her and just felt this powerful something hit me. And I knew my life was never going to be the same. That's the only way I can explain it. We talked for 30 minutes before the meeting, and I was absolutely hooked on her. I was so excited meeting her that I went home and immediately called my girlfriend to tell her about this amazing person I just met. Needless to say, it was a bumpy few months sorting that out, but we're together almost 20 years later, and I still wake up next to her in awe. She's not perfect, but damn if we aren't good together. Story 18. I think it was during our first date. I thought she was absolutely stunning and funny, etc. We also studied at the same place, so we somewhat knew each other. During our first date, we managed to both have fun, but also serious, and I felt like she was already a partner but a best friend. We just hit it off easily, but also struggling with same insecurity. Like we reassure each other that the other person is good enough, etc. I just got a gut feeling that, yes, I am going to marry this girl. I even saved her in my phone as future wife that night. Story 9. I finally worked up the female balls to tell him what he meant to me, and he said he doesn't know how to do relationships of any kind, including platonic, because human connection makes him uncomfortable. I still don't know if he was just rejecting me as lightly as possible or if I was supposed to continue trying. I'm not about to cross a boundary though, so I just left it. Seems there's some work to do on his and probably my end as well. Been almost a year though, and I'm still not interested in anybody else. I need to figure out how to get over it. Story 20. My friend and I were out and about one evening and she said we're gonna stop at my buddy's house. So we did. He opened the door and it was like a magnet turned on. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. My brain felt fuzzy. I had never experienced anything like it. He went out with us that night. We went on a bike ride the next day. Our first date was the following weekend, and we've been inseparable ever since. 12 years, married for 6, 1 kid, and been through some shit. We drive each other crazy on the regular. He is the love of my life, and I knew it instantly. All right, folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Drop your thoughts in a comment below and let us know if you have similar story. I'll see you in the next video.